Good evening, dear listener, and welcome. I'm Neon, and I'll be your guide through tonight's tale, one of soft light, gentle journeys, and a spark that leads to unexpected discoveries. As you settle in, perhaps you've had a long day, or maybe you're simply seeking a quiet moment to unwind. Wherever you are, know that this story is here to embrace you, to help you let go of the world around you, and to guide you gently toward sleep. Tonight, we'll journey with a lantern maker, a simple craftsman whose life will take an unexpected turn when he encounters a glowing ember unlike any he's ever seen. This ember carries a story of its own, and with it, the lantern maker will discover more than he could have imagined. It's a story about light, both the kind that illuminates the night and the kind that shines within us all. So, as you listen, I invite you to close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath in. Inhale the calm, and as you exhale, feel the weight of the day melt away. Let the soft glow of this story fill your mind. And remember, there's no rush. This journey will take its time, and we will walk it together. Now, let the sounds of my voice carry you into a world where every lantern has a story, and every light connects us all. And so, with that, let's begin our tale of the Skyward Lantern. In the quiet town of Leora, nestled between rolling hills and an endless sky, there was a lantern maker named Elric. His shop, a modest building at the edge of the village, was filled with all kinds of lanterns, from small, delicate ones that could fit in the palm of your hand, to grand, intricate lanterns that hung from the tallest ceilings. Each lantern had its own design. Some were adorned with delicate engravings, others with colorful glass that caught the light in beautiful patterns. The people of Leora loved his creations, for they didn't just light the night, they brought warmth to the heart. Elric was content with his life. He had lived in Leora for many years, and his craft had been passed down to him by his father. Every day, he would sit at his workbench, carving intricate patterns into the metal frames, painting the glass, and lighting the lanterns with the care of someone who understood that the light they carried was something sacred. He was not a man of great ambition, nor did he seek fame. All he desired was to create lanterns that would bring a little bit of peace and light to the world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and lavender, Elric was closing his shop for the night. The air had grown cooler, and the gentle rustling of the wind outside whispered through the cracks in the wooden walls. Elric had just finished cleaning his workbench and was about to blow out the last lantern of the day when something caught his eye. At first, it seemed like nothing, just a flicker of light, a tiny spark drifting through the window. But when Elric looked closer, he saw it wasn't a trick of the light. A glowing ember, as bright as a star, was floating toward him. It moved slowly, as though it were being carried by some invisible force, and landed softly on his workbench with a faint sigh. Elric's heart skipped a beat. He leaned closer, staring in awe at the ember, which pulsed gently with a golden light. It was warm to the touch, but not burning, as though it contained a warmth that was more than just heat. It was alive with some deeper energy. He reached out and picked it up carefully, half expecting it to disappear or burn his fingers, but it remained cool and solid in his hand. As soon as he held the ember, something strange happened. A soft, melodic hum filled the air around him, so faint at first that he almost thought he imagined it. But the longer he held the ember, the clearer it became. It was a melody, delicate and haunting, as if it were calling to him from a distant place. The music was unlike any he had ever heard, but it stirred something deep within him, something familiar, yet distant, like a memory he couldn't quite grasp. That night, Elric's dreams were filled with visions of a distant mountain, a sacred peak that rose high above the clouds, covered in snow and shrouded in mystery. The mountain stood tall, almost as though it were watching over the world below. And in his dream, the ember in his hand began to glow even brighter, casting a golden light that spread across the landscape. Elric felt drawn to the mountain, as if it were calling to him. In the dream, the ember whispered to him, not in words, but in images and feelings. It showed him a great lantern, crafted from crystal and gold, sitting at the summit of Mount Luminara. But the lantern was empty. Its light had gone out long ago, and it waited for something, someone, to reignite it. The ember was meant for this purpose, to restore the light to the great lantern. But there was more. The ember's journey had not yet ended. It had come to Elric for a reason. He was meant to carry the ember to the mountain, to reignite the lantern, and in doing so, restore something greater than just the lantern's light. When Elric woke, the ember was still in his hand, its glow faint but constant. The dream felt real, as though it had not been a vision, but a calling. Elric knew what he had to do. He couldn't explain it, but he felt the pull of the mountain deep in his heart. With a quiet resolve, he decided to embark on a journey that would change his life. The following morning, Elric packed a small satchel with bread, water, and some simple tools for his craft, should he need them along the way. The ember, safely encased in a new lantern he had crafted specifically for the journey, hung at his side. He didn't know how long the journey would take or what he would encounter, but he knew that he had to follow the path that the ember had shown him. As Elric left the village and began his journey, the landscape around him seemed to shift. The air grew cooler, and the sky became a deep shade of blue as the sun sank lower in the sky. The lantern swung gently at his side, its warm glow lighting the path before him, and Elric could feel the weight of the ember's call, a steady reminder that he was on the right path. Days passed, and Elric traveled through fields and forests, over hills and valleys. The landscape was vast and beautiful, and yet he felt an emptiness within him, a quiet yearning that he couldn't quite explain. He often found himself thinking about the people he had left behind in Lyora, the faces of those who had admired his lanterns and asked for his work, filled his thoughts. but he knew that this journey was something he had to do alone. On the third day of his journey, as he was walking through a wide field, he came upon a farm where a weary farmer named Garin worked. The farmer paused his work when he noticed the light of Elric's lantern in the distance. "That light," Garin said as Elric approached. "It reminds me of the fireflies I used to see as a child. I've worked this land for so long, but somewhere along the way, I lost sight of the stars." Elric shared his story with Garin, the ember, the dream, and his journey to Mount Luminara. Garin listened intently, his eyes filled with wonder and curiosity. Moved by Elric's tale, the farmer invited him to stay for the night, offering food and shelter in exchange for Elric's company. Elric accepted, grateful for the kindness of the stranger. That night, as they sat by the hearth, Elric crafted a small lantern for Garin, using a tiny spark from the ember's glow. When Garin lit the lantern, his face softened, and he gazed at it for a long while, as if it had unlocked something deep within him. "The stars may be far," Garin said, his voice filled with emotion, "but this light feels close. Thank you." Elric smiled, his heart lightened by the farmer's words, and the two men parted the next morning with warm farewells. As Elric continued his journey, he entered a dense forest where the trees were tall and ancient, their branches intertwining to form a canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. The forest felt alive, but also quiet, as though it held many secrets within its depths. It was here that Elric met Marin, a traveler sitting on a large stone by the side of the path. She was studying a map, her brow furrowed in frustration. "I've lost my way," she said when she noticed Elric. "I was searching for the Valley of Echoes, but now I can't remember why I came. I thought I was looking for something, but now I'm not so sure." Elric, ever the kind soul, offered to guide her out of the forest. As they walked together, they shared their stories. Marin spoke of a song her mother used to sing to her when she was young. The song had been a lullaby, soft and beautiful. But as the years passed, Marin could no longer remember the words. She had been searching for the Valley of Echoes, hoping that by finding it, she might hear the song again. The ember in Elric's lantern seemed to respond to Marin's words. It began to glow brighter, its warmth spreading through the air. Elric knew then that the ember was not only guiding him, it was also guiding those he met along the way. When they reached the edge of the forest, Elric crafted a small lantern for Marin, one that could capture sound as well as light. When Marin lit the lantern, a soft melody filled the air. Her mother's lullaby, the song she had thought lost forever. Marin's eyes filled with tears as she heard the song, and she embraced Elric in gratitude. "You've given me something I thought I'd never find," she whispered. The path to Mount Luminara grew steeper as Elric continued, and the air grew colder. The mountains loomed ahead, their jagged peaks hidden by clouds. The climb became more difficult, and Elric's body began to tire. But the ember's light remained steady, casting a warm glow even in the darkest places. It was as though the light itself was giving him strength, urging him onward. One night, as Elric neared the summit, he found himself facing a fierce wind, the winds of doubt, howling across the cliffs. The gusts were strong enough to blow out a lantern, but Elric held tight to the ember's light. He shielded the lantern with his hands, whispering to the flame, "You've come so far. I won't let you go." The winds screamed, as if testing his resolve, and Elric felt his legs tremble beneath him. For a moment, he wanted to turn back, but then he remembered the faces of Garen and Marin, the people who had been touched by the ember's light. He couldn't turn back now. With newfound determination, he pressed forward, and the winds, as if acknowledging his resolve, subsided. Finally, after many trials, Elric reached the summit of Mount Luminara. The great lantern sat there, weathered and empty, waiting. It was even grander than Elric had imagined. Its frame of gold and crystal was tarnished by the years, its light extinguished. Elric approached the lantern, his heart pounding in his chest, and placed the glowing ember into its core. For a long moment, nothing happened. But then, the ember flared to life, and the great lantern began to glow. The light spread outward, sending beams of golden light into the sky, reaching across the land. Elric watched in awe as the lantern's light ignited others, creating a network of glowing lights across the world below. The ember's journey was complete. It had not only reignited the great lantern, it had ignited something within everyone it had touched, a reminder of the light within themselves. As Elric descended the mountain, he saw the world transformed. Lanterns filled the fields, the forests, the villages, and the towns. They were not just sources of light. They were symbols of hope, connection, and the quiet understanding that no one was ever truly alone. The ember had given its light to others, and in doing so, had created a web of warmth and understanding that stretched across the world. And Elric, now a part of this great tapestry, knew that his journey was not just about restoring the lantern. It was about sharing the light within himself and letting it illuminate the lives of others. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our tale. Remember, the light you carry within can brighten not just your path, but the paths of others as well. Sweet dreams, and may your night be filled with warmth and wonder. Until next time, this is Neon, signing off.